Yes, okay. It's 35 minutes? 35 minutes? Or 40? 35. Yeah, that's better. Okay. Does it work? Do you know if it's okay? No, I'm not sure. Hello, 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 hello. 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe it's on, it's off, maybe, no? It's okay? It's too low. Okay, you can check it. Hello, hello. Yes, okay. Okay, so thank you for attending this talk about the E4 Spies. I will show you some usage of these spies and how you can contribute to this framework or to this plugin of managing spies. And I will show you also another tooling that can be used for helping you in your migration. So just a slide about me. My name is Olivier Prouveau. I'm located in France, in Toulouse, and I am an Eclipse expert and trainer and committer on E4 tools. And I provide trainings and consulting around Eclipse technologies in several companies. So for the agenda of this talk, I will show you, first of all, a sample application, so as to give you some examples on a real application based on E4. And then I will show you how to use the model spy, the context spy, event spy, CSS spy. And I will show you also how you can create a new spy very easily. Depending on your application, sometimes that can be interesting to add a specific view so as to display your development informations. And I will show you in a few slides a specific view I developed for, with the help of some people here in the room, to have some statistics on your E3 applications, so as to know if migrating to E4 will be a pain or not. So first of all, we will use this application. This is an application based on Nebula. We use some Nebula widget inside, so two counters. And it's fully based on E4. I use injection for the values. And I use also the different concepts you have in E4. So this application, I already use it at, I will show you after at Eclipse conference. But there are only 3 plugins inside. So the main plugin is the application model that contains the application model. You have a UI plugin to display views. And there is a core plugin where you have all the stuff to manage the alarms, the engine management, the simulation, actually. And there is also a context function. I will show you that. If you want to get this application, you can get it from my GitHub. I explained at Eclipse conference, I explained during a workshop how to develop this application from scratch up to this result. So you can get on these URLs, you can get the PDF that explains how it has been done. The slides of this presentation is also available on the website of the conference. You can download the PDF if you want. And if you want you can click on the links if you have got the Wi-Fi. So what are the spies? The spies are actually specific views that can be used during your development phases so as to display information, but for a developer point of view. So you will not use spy to display end user information, but you will use it, for instance, to display some tricky information that can be interesting for development phases. And usually we have we could say that we have a spy for a concept. In E4, I will show you that we have 4 new concepts, and for each concept you have got a spy. So of course, if you develop an application based on E4, you will probably create new concepts, maybe something to log something, or a protocol, network protocol, and you could be interested in having your own spy so as to control your application. To use the spies in your E4 application, you must, in your launch configuration, you must add these specific plugins. So actually, you just have to search for spies or spy, and you must not forget the EMF Live Editor. This is actually the model spy, but the name of the plugin is Live Editor for historical reasons. So don't forget to add this one, and then you can launch your application like other applications. So as to distinguish the spies from other end-user windows or parts, we decided to gather all the spies in a spy window, which is opened beside your application. And you can have an access to all the spies using the toolbar or using the shortcuts. So you must only know only one shortcut to enter in the spy window. Whatever the shortcut you use, you will enter in this window. And when you put the mouse on the icons, you will get the other, the display of the spy, and you will get information about the shortcuts. So if you add your own spy, it will appear in this window. Of course, if you want, you can move this window to your application. That's a traditional part. It's only put in a specific window, but you can do what you want after. So first concept. So this talk is not about, I will not detail all the concepts of E4. It has been done already in a lot of talks. I will just remind you some issues, but very quickly, and I will show you how it is displayed in the spies. So the first concept is the application model. As you know, in E4, when you develop an application, you must describe a model, which is UI agnostic, and it's bound to Pojo classes. And you can have a tree that describes your application. That's easier to describe rather than to use the plugin extensions, the traditional 3.x extensions, because in 3.x extensions, everything is defined at the same level. It's sometimes difficult to find information. So with the application model, you can, for instance, bind some parts here in the model. So there are several nodes. And you can bind the part. The part is a Pojo containing regular SWT or gface code. So if you want to check your your model of your application, you can open the model spy. Something important to note is that the model you describe for your application is read by the runtime of E4 and is rendered live. So when you use it, when you open the model spy, you will get, so I put the model spies over my window, actually. You can change values inside the spy, and you will get the change in your application. So of course, this is not an end-user functionality, but it can help you to understand how to manage the location of your windows, or how you should share your, for instance, your search containers or something like this. So when you change something, immediately you get the value change in the UI. There is also a new functionality which is interesting. It's the capability to find objects. So the name is list of the tab. Maybe it should have been search, but okay, this is a list. And you can select here a filter of objects so as to find an object in your model. As you have seen before, the tree of your application contains a lot of levels, and sometimes you have to click maybe 12 times before getting your part. So with this item, with this tab, just click on the filter item part, and you will get all the parts of your application. So that's very quick. And you can click on this button or on this button to go in the form or in the XMI tab so as to get the selected value. I will show you this, a small demo. Okay, so this is my application. I'm sorry, but the resolution is a little low, so we cannot see everything. So this application has a start button. There is something to manage the acceleration of your car or of your engine. And when you get some values, you will get some alarms here that are displayed in this view. So there are 3 views. So I can let it turn. And I can open with Alt-Shift F9, my model spy. And for instance, I want to manage my parts. So as I said, I can enter in the filter. I just select parts. It will display the parts. Of course, the E4 Spies are also parts. So you can see the parts of your application that has been already opened. So if I don't know, I take the dashboard, for instance, I can go in my application model, and I can change. I changed something in the CSS. That's strange. Okay, I can change the label here, for instance, or engine dashboard. As you can see, it will change directly in the UI. So I will not detail all the changes you can do, but you see the mechanism. That's easy. Just open the model spy, you try something, and if it works, you can put it in your static application model, and you can put it in your application like this. The second spy is about injection. Only one slide, only to remind you what is injection. Injection is a mechanism to get the values from the framework without having to care about the initialization of the values. You just initialize the values in the main classes of your application, but when you need to get the values, you just ask using the @inject annotation to get the value. Something very interesting with E4 is that when you inject a value, the system will remember that this value has been used in the method or in the field, and the method will be reinvoked when the value changes in the context. So this is a very powerful mechanism that can be tricky if you don't know how to manage injection correctly, and if you can't see how the data and how the values in the context are stored, that can be a little tricky to understand. So for this concept, E4 defined a context which is based on a tree of maps. So it's not only a map with all the values, it's a tree of map. And this tree of map will define active branches depending on the context where you are, on the UI where you are. For instance, a part will have its own context. So that can be visualized like this. This is, for instance, a map in a branch where you have some values here and some keys, actually, and some values. So you can get the values at a point of your context. So if you want to use, of course, you will use the context for your application. When you have business information to store in the context, you will use some specific code for that. And this is very easy to do with E4 because you can set a value in a context. You can inject a context, or you can inject the object which owns the context you want to fill. For instance, the M application. This is your application model, actually. You can get the context on it, and you can set values in the context. They will appear in the context of the application. So there are several ways to initialize objects. For instance, an image registry from GFace has no injection mechanism inside, so you can call it with new. But if you use, for instance, my engine simulator or my engine watcher, in these classes, I injected values. So I must call context injection factory.make with the name of the class and the context that will be used to inject the values inside. And then you can set the values. So in this example of code, I use classes as keys in the context. But of course, you can also define your own keys. All of this code are abstract of the main application. For instance, in my stop method, when I click on the stop button, I will say to the context, okay, the speed and the RPM value must be set to 0. So I just inject the context using an injection here, and I can set the values. When the value has been injected somewhere, the method that received this value will be recalled. So the counter can be set to 0, for instance. This is an example here. So how can I get the value? I define, like in the previous example, this constant, the RPM value. And this is an int value, so of course I must define a key as a string because I have several integer values, so I must distinguish them with a key. And in this case, I will just set the value on my counter. The counter is a nebula object. If the value changes, the counter will change. So you can imagine that, for instance, the engine simulator has a thread that will change the values depending on acceleration, and it will just put the speed value or RPM value inside the context, and the dashboard will be updated. You don't have to describe listeners or to remove listeners. It comes from the frameworks, so that's very, very interesting. But of course, you have a lot of context. You have a tree of maps, so that's not very easy to see. So you can open the context by using Alt-Shift F10, and you will get all the tree here, the tree of context. And when you click on the context, you will get the values inside. So of course, you will get maybe hundreds of values inside your context. So you have a search mechanism where you can just enter a string, and all the context where this string appear, for instance, in the values, of course, not in the name of the context, will be displayed in blue. And if you have still too much values displayed on the screen, you can remove the filtered value here. There is also a refresh button. For this spy, I decided not to use the listener on the context because I think it was too heavy for that, and usually the values doesn't change every time in the context. So if you want to refresh, you can refresh. It will refresh. Maybe it will create a new context because you open a new view, or it will refresh the values you have in the context when, for instance, the speed change. Yes, probably you have seen two specific nodes here. So this is maybe the tricky issue of this spy. We have to separate the inherited values injected or updated using this context. We have to distinguish these values from the other values. This is the local values managed by this context. What does it mean? Actually, in a context, if you have local I have a slide about this. So, yes. So the local value is the simple issue. Actually, this is the values that are stored in this map, and these values, of course, cannot be seen by the parent context because when a value is searched in the context, if it's not found, the system will search in the parent context. So, of course, we will put the global values in the top level context. And in local values, you will have values that can be injected at this point or in the children. It's automatically displayed depending on the place of the values anyway. For inherited values, injected or updated using this context, it means that you have got some values that has been found with an how could I say? It means that the current context has been used to find a value, but the value was not in the local values part. It was in the parent value, in the parent context. So it's separated, and you can see in this part, usually you will be able to open the value and to see where the value has been injected. So be careful when you use this spy Sometimes when you start with E4, there are specific annotation for injection. For instance, you have @post construct, or you have constructors with @inject, which receive values. These values are not traced by the system, and you cannot see them in the context spy, because the system doesn't care to remember of these values. You just have to remember that this method or this field was using this value. So only injected parameters and fields are displayed in this spy. So post constructs are not displayed. So I will show you how it works. So I'm always in my, so this is the inject model, yes. The CSS renderer works well, okay. I will change it after. So I've got all my context here. So I will just filter on engine. I've got several values. I will show only filter, that will be easier to find. Maybe I will start the application also. Oh no, okay, that's good. Oh, I've got some icons who disappeared. Okay, so this was a refresh button. I don't know why it disappeared. Okay, and you have a plus and minus button to open the tree. In this example, I can refresh. You can see the value of the speed changing here. You can have also information about where is injected the speed value. For instance, you can open this tree node, and you can see that it has been injected in the engine watcher method, which check the engine watcher class in the check speed value method. You can also have information about context functions. So a context function is actually a value that is computed by a context function. So for the key, actually you have not really a value in the map. You have a context function that will return the value. So in this case, you have a specific icon for that. I don't know if you can see it. This is a function with an equal. And you can see the instance of the value. And you can find it, I think, here. You can see after. In the context function, I will not detail this issue, but in the context function, you can create the object, and then you can put it in a context. So when the context function is defined, this is actually an OSGI service that will be available in the OSGI context, which is the top level context of your application. And when I executed the context function, I put the value in the workbench context, actually. So this is my engine logger, with, which has been used in 2 fields. So this context spies, I think, is very important if you start with E4, so as to be confident with the system, because when you inject the values, it seems to be very magical, because you can get any value of the system. So if you open the context spy and you click on the, for instance, on the workbench context or the OSGI context, you will get, you will understand why the value is there and why you can use it. The third concept is event management. In Eclipse 4, you have a very powerful event management that can be used to send event and to receive event using injection. And it avoids you to define, a lot of listeners and add listeners, remove listeners, events, and so on. So that's really a pain to write. We will just write something using an iEvent broker. This iEvent broker is an interface that can send events. And something interesting is that all the events you have on the application model have been translated to the iEvent broker management. So if you have a look on the UI events class, you will get all the events you have on the model. How can you use this mechanism in your code? For instance, in my check RPM value, where I injected the RPM value, so this method is reinvoked when the RPM value change. I can check if the value is over a threshold. I can create an alarm, and I can send this alarm to the broker. And of course, the broker is got using injection. So you inject the broker here. And I send my alarm using a key. And this key is actually defined using a string. As you can see, I defined 2 different strings for 2 different events, 2i and speed 2i and RPM 2i. And I have got also the topic of my alarms events. I can use pattern matching with a star. I will show you how you can get this information after. So the alarm topic is alarm/star. And if I want to be notified of an event, I can just create an injected method with the UI event topic annotation. And I can get, using this key, so this is alarm/star, I will get the object that has been sent in the event, and I can use it in my application. So in this example, I can put it in my table, and I can refresh the viewer. So that's very easy. You don't have to care about how to remove the listeners. And you just create a string, and you listen the string you want. In E4, all the events have been defined, and there are keys for all the events you have in the UI. If you move a window, you will get events. So a quick demo about this. This is the event spy. So the event spy can be opened using, I don't remember, I think it's Alt-Shift F8. It's this one, this icon. So you have a filter. You can start or stop capturing events, and you can filter the objects. And as you can see here, I can capture events and see only what's happening on my alarms. So just a quick demo of this one. If I start, I don't know if I've got a filter, no. As you can see, I just moved the E4 Spy window, and I got 2 events. The X and the Y values of my window has been set because I moved the window. Or if I resize it, I will get more information because there are more events. But you can get information here, and if you want to filter the alarm values, you must create a new filter actually here. Topic, you can say start with alarm. You add the filter, and I think you have to stop and start again. And if you have, I don't know if my engine is running. Yeah, I should get it. Or maybe I should say with slash. Yeah. I must say that the topic name starts with, I think we have to say alarm/star, if I remember. Okay, I don't remember exactly the name. Stop and start, maybe. So this event spy exists for several months, and it has not been improved since its first delivery. So maybe we could change some issues inside. The next concept is the CSS spy. So this one is very interesting because you can change CSS of your application in E4. That can be done with a static definition of your CSS using a definition in your product properties. Or you can define, when you define this CSS, you will be able to define specific values for a SWT class, or for a specific object of your UI, or for an object in the model. So you can set values, but the problem is to know how can you write these values, this content. So you can use the CSS spy for this. So for instance, with the CSS I just showed you before, you can have these different values. You can see the buttons change. Even the tab here, the font of the tab has been increased. So how can you get this? You will open the CSS spy, and when you click on an object in the UI, it will open the SWT widget, and you can get all information of your CSS. And you can, when you click on the Show CSS fragment, you get the CSS piece of code that you can put in your file. So that's very cool. You can test it very easily. Just use the Scratchpad for that. You open the Scratchpad in the CSS spy, you copy the code, you change the values, and you check what's the result. So for that, very quick demo again. So I can, as you can see, I have nothing in my CS spy, but if I click, for instance, on my button here, that will open all the values, and I can find probably, so I click on the table, excuse me, on the values on the button. I can change the value directly. This is why it's red. I should put the initial value. And I'm not sure it's this one. Yes, that should be this one. Okay. And if I use the CSS value here, I can copy these values, and I can put it in the scratchpad. But for that, you need to you must not use the static CSS as I showed you before. You must use a theme inside E4. There is a specific extension point for that. So if you change that and you change something and you apply it, that should change. But I'm not sure that it's a good color. I will change this one. So you change the value of the button, but you change also all the values of all the buttons of your application because it's the same CSS value. Okay, so if you want to contribute to the new spies, that's very easy. If you know to make an extension, you just extend the spy part extension point, which is provided by the org Eclipse E4 tool spy plugin. And you must say what is the part that you want to display using the shortcut. So you don't have to care about how to manage my shortcut in my binding tables and so on. Just define this information, and it will appear in your bundle spy view. So for instance, I created, in your spy view, E4 spy window, excuse me. For instance, I created this spy very quickly. I just create a table with a list of the bundles that has been opened in your application. And when you put the mouse, you have a tooltip to see if the bundle is active. Usually when you want to do this, you have to add a dash console parameter, and you have to restart your application. So you can get information directly here. So you can, of course, use. So this bundle spy is on my GitHub also. So all this information is in the PDF. So some ideas for you if you want to create spies. You can create memory spies and object supplier spies. That's more for E4 tools developers. Or SGI service spy to know what are the services available in the system. A translation spy, a system spy, protocol spy, encoding spy. You can imagine all the spies you want. So, and the last issue I wanted to show you is the migration view. I have not a lot of time to show you it directly, but I will show you only the screenshots. You will read, if you want to use it, there is a GitHub link to get it. This is a migration stat view. This has been used on several projects. Actually, it's explained in the links I gave you to how to use it. This is a statistic view. It's not very beautiful, but it's the goal is to be functional. You click on a project you have in your workspace, and you can get information on how many extensions you have in your application. For instance, you can know that you have here, I've got maybe in this plugin, test plugin, I have accelerator scope. I have two attributes, elements of accelerator scope. If it's written in red, it means that the extension point or the element is deprecated. So the more red you have, the more problem you will have for your migration. So be careful with this. And if you have only red, so don't migrate. And if you have here, if you use this window, you can get information about how many commands you must migrate, how many views, how many editors. And if you click on several projects, it will create columns here. I will show you it very quickly. Yes. So if I select a project, if I select a feature, it will analyze the feature, take all the plugins inside, and put the columns with the count. So you can filter, you can export these values in a CSV file. You can click on different values. If the names are too long, there is a filter. you can say, okay, I don't want to see the Java, it will remove the Java name because sometimes it's too high. So you have some different issues like this. Okay, so I will stop now because it's time for, it's time. So maybe this migration view could be interesting to be integrated in E4. So thank you for attending. If you have any questions, you can ask them maybe after, because I think it's late. Don't forget to evaluate, of course, only if it was good, of course also. And if you want to contact me, this is my coordinate. So feel free to get the PDF and to send me remarks if you have. You can try, if you didn't make an E4 application, you can try the workbench we have done at Eclipse conference. That was interesting stuff because there was Nebula objects also, so that can be interesting. Any question? One question maybe? Two? We have no time. Okay, we stop. Thank you very much.